Please like this video and subscribe. I really want to reach my first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. Before I tell you what happened on my birthday, here's the point of this story, because it's not about drama. It's about timing, boundaries, and how early disrespect always shows itself in small, practical ways first. A weird tone, and nothing that used to be a joke. A phone flipped over like it's a classified document. Most guys don't lose their marriages in one big moment. They lose them by negotiating their own dignity in tiny installments. This one is about what you do when the signs show up on a day that's supposed to be simple. How to stop chasing explanations. How to collect facts without turning yourself into a spectacle. And how to change the rules fast enough that someone else doesn't rewrite your life while smiling in your kitchen. Lauren kissed my shoulder like she was reading it off a script. Not a bad kiss. Not cold. Just rehearsed. "Don't peek," she called as she padded out of our bedroom in socks. I'm making the good bacon. We live in a Denver suburb where the houses are close enough that your neighbor knows when you switch trash companies. Our street is full of two things: dogs and opinions. Howard next door could spot a new mailbox flag from 3 driveways away and treat it like breaking news. So yeah, birthdays here are simple. Family dinner at the house. My parents. My sister Nicole. A couple friends. Nothing fancy, just food and laughs and the same stories we pretend we haven't heard 10 times. I got up, pulled on a t-shirt, and followed the smell into the kitchen. Lauren had her hair up, apron on, moving like she was trying to look effortless. Coffee was already going. "Morning, birthday boy," she said, too bright. I leaned against the counter. "You're up early. Who are you, and what did you do with my wife?" She gave me a smile that should have landed. It didn't. Her eyes were busy, like she was watching something else. Still, I played along. "Smells good." "Because it is good," she said. "Seat. Relax. Let me do this." That right there was the first itch. Lauren doesn't tell me to relax unless she wants something. Usually, it's a favor. Sometimes, it's permission. She slid a plate down, reached behind me, and pressed her hips to my back, arms around my waist. That part felt familiar. That part almost fooled me. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. A sharp little vibration. Not a call. A message. Lauren moved like a trap went off. Snatched it, cheeks turning pink, and flipped it face down in one clean motion like she practiced. I didn't stare at the phone. "Il sert de here." I kept my voice normal, boring. "Work?" She didn't even look up. It's nothing. Not just a client, or Nicole being annoying, or Howard's wife sending garden photos. Just a clipped, sealed nothing. Lauren used to overshare. I knew what her coworkers ate for lunch. I knew which cashier at the grocery store annoyed her. Now I got nothing on my birthday morning with her hands still on the bacon spatula, like she'd been caught holding something illegal. I took a sip of coffee and let the silence sit there. She filled it fast. I might need to run out later. I still have to grab a few things for tonight. "For my birthday dinner," I said, like I was reminding her of the concept. She nodded too quickly. "Yeah, for that. Just errands." I gave her a look. "Lauren, you've had 2 weeks." She laughed, but it wasn't a real laugh. "Well, excuse me for trying to make it special." There it was. The little hook. If I asked for details, I'd be the guy ruining her effort. If I let it go, she got daylight to do whatever she wanted. I chewed bacon, swallowed, and kept it plain. "Okay, just tell me where you'll be." Her eyes flicked to the phone. "Around. Don't be weird." I raised an eyebrow. I wasn't being weird. She kissed my cheek like a stamp. "Promise you won't start without me." That sentence didn't belong in our kitchen. It sounded like she was managing a room, not a marriage. I watched her drift through the house with her phone in her hand, screen angled away from me, and I had the clearest thought. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have moved faster right then. Not angry faster. Smart faster. By late morning, the house was in birthday mode. I had steaks thawing, chairs pulled out, extra plates washed. Nicole texted she'd be here early to help. Vince and his wife Tessa were bringing a dessert. My parents were rolling in around 6. Howard had already wandered over once to ask, "You need anything?" which is his code for "I'm checking for gossip." Lauren was in and out of rooms like she couldn't land. At 9:07, she sent me a text from somewhere in the house, which was almost funny. Almost. "Good morning. I need to meet someone. Back soon. Meet someone." Not meet Megan for coffee. Not meet my mom. Not meet the florist. Just someone, like she was writing a note that could survive a courtroom. Except we weren't doing court. We weren't doing drama. We were doing facts. I replied, "Oh." She left me on read. 10 minutes later, she came down the stairs with a tote bag and her keys. I stayed calm. You running errands? Or running a secret mission? She smiled too wide. You're being intense. I'm being awake, I said. Where are you going? She took a breath like I was exhausting. I told you. Just out. I'm trying to do something nice. For me, I said, pointing to my chest. On my birthday. By disappearing, she walked to the door and put her hand on the knob. I'll be back soon. Lauren. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. She paused, half-turned. What? I held her gaze. If you're building trust, you don't do it by being vague. Her face tightened for half a second. Then she smoothed it like makeup. You worry too much. Okay, I said and stepped back. Have fun meeting someone. That last part landed. I saw it in her eyes. She didn't like sarcasm when it wasn't hers. She left. And the second her car turned the corner, the house got quiet in a way that felt like a warning. Nicole arrived with grocery bags and her usual no-nonsense energy. She's my younger sister, but she's always acted like my older one. She walked in, sniffed the air, and smiled. Smells like a man trying, she said. Don't get used to it, I told her. She set bags down. Where's Lauren? Out. Nicole looked around. On your birthday? I shrugged like it didn't matter. Errands. Surprise. Mystery meeting with a person. Nicole's face did that sister thing. Half concern, half annoyance on my behalf. That's weird. Howard's voice drifted in from outside like he'd been summoned by the word weird. Jack, you got enough chairs. I opened the front door. Howard stood there in cargo shorts like he was ready to build a deck at any moment. I'm good, I said. But if you're bored later, swing by. People will be here. He grinned. Oh, I'll be around. Of course he would. Nicole leaned close and murmured. He's going to treat this like a live show. Let him, I said. Maybe he'll learn something. Around noon, while Nicole was cutting veggies and I was checking the grill, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. One text. Your wife is with my husband. Under it, a location pin. I stared at it long enough that Nicole noticed. What? She asked. I turned the screen so she could see. Her mouth dropped open. No, she said. No way. I tapped the number and called. Straight to silence. No voicemail pick-up. Just nothing. I called Lauren. Voicemail. I called again because I like patterns, not because I like begging. Voicemail. Nicole whispered, Jack. I held up a hand. I'm not doing the thing. The thing. The sprint to a restaurant to act like a guy in a bad video. I said. I'm not walking into a booth and flipping tables. I'm not fighting another man in front of a hostess stand. I'm not giving Lauren a story where I'm the unstable one. Nicole's eyes were wet, but she stayed quiet. She knows my tone. When I go flat like that, it means I'm already moving pieces. I looked at the location. It was 10 minutes away. A place Lauren and I had gone more than once. Not our favorite, but close enough to feel familiar. Convenient. Private booths. I slid my phone into my pocket and washed my hands. Nicole grabbed my arm. What are you going to do? Collect the truth, I said. With witnesses. She blinked. You're taking people there? I nodded. I'm moving the party. Nicole stared at me like I just invented a new law of physics. That's cold. No. Incorrecta. That's controlled. I opened our family group chat. The one with my parents, Nicole, Vince, Tessa, and a couple others. I typed, change of plan. Dinner at Hawthorne Grill tonight. Same time. Meet there. Nicole watched me hit send. You're serious. I'm not chasing, I said. I'm setting the stage. 2 seconds later, Vince replied, works for us. Need me early? Tessa sent a thumbs up and a little cake emoji. My dad wrote, whatever you want, son. My mom wrote, are you sure? You love grilling. Nicole's phone buzzed. She read and looked at me. You're really doing this? I nodded. Lauren wanted a surprise. She's getting one. Lauren finally texted at 1:14. Running around. Promise you'll like it. No location. No that did. Just a carrot again. I replied, we're doing dinner at Hawthorne Grill. Be there at 6. She didn't respond for 5 minutes. Then, don't start without me. I stare at that. Not where are you? Not what? Not is everything okay? Just control. She followed it with, also, where's the long lighter for the candles? I laughed once. Not happy, just disbelief. Nicole heard it and shook her head slowly. She's trying to pull you back into normal. Yep, I said. She's trying to drag the conversation into utensils because utensils don't ruin plans. I typed, top drawer by the foil. And we'll start when we start. Nicole exhaled. Jack, you're really calm. I'm not calm, I said. I'm focused. At 5:30, our driveway turned into a little convoy. Nicole rode with me. Vince and Tessa pulled up behind. My parents arrived in their sedan. Howard appeared on his porch like a man who had been waiting for the curtain to rise. He strolled over, hands in pockets. Restaurant, huh? Fancy. It's food, I said. You want to come? Howard's eyes lit up. I don't want to intrude. Nicole cut in, sweet as sugar. Howard, you've never been shy a day in your life. Howard chuckled. Fair point. So yeah, Howard joined. Because of course he did. And honestly, fine. The more eyes, the less room for lies. We drove to Hawthorne Grill like we were going to normal birthday dinner. And that was the strangest part. My dad was talking about traffic. Tessa was telling Nicole about a new recipe. Vince was making jokes about how restaurant steaks are always too proud of themselves. I listened, nodded, kept my hands steady on the wheel. Inside, my chest wasn't chaos. It was a ledger. When we walked in, the hostess smiled. Party of 7, I said, then glanced back. 8. Howard raised a finger. I count as half. You count as noise, Nicole muttered. The hostess laughed and led us toward the back. And then I saw her. Lauren, in a booth tucked in a corner like it was designed for secrecy. Hair done. Makeup like she had time. Her posture leaned forward, head tilted, hand resting on the sleeve of the man across from her. I knew his face. Brian. I'd seen him at local charity events, school fundraisers, neighborhood gatherings. Always with that, I'm a good guy handshake and a ring on his left hand. Lauren wasn't sitting like she was in a business meeting. She was sitting like she was auditioning for a different life. Nicole saw it too. Her whole body went rigid. Vince whispered, That's Lauren, right? Tessa's hand flew to her mouth. My mom stopped walking like the floor changed. And that's when a voice cut through the restaurant, loud enough to turn heads. Lauren? What are you doing? Patricia. Lauren's mother stood near the bar, holding a purse like she'd just stepped in for a quick drink. She looked stunned, like she'd walked into the wrong movie. Every head in that section turned. The room got quiet in that way restaurants do when something real happens. Brian shot upright, so fast his booth seat squeaked. He looked at me, then at Patricia, then at Lauren. His hands went up in a quick, not me, gesture like he'd been caught near a broken window. He didn't say a word. He slid out, avoided everyone's eyes, and hustled toward the hallway by the restrooms like he had a plane to catch. Guilty men move fast. That's just practical information. Lauren's face drained. She stood, hands half raised like she could physically stop the moment. Jack, this is... Don't, I said. One word. Flat. Not loud. The kind of word that ends conversations. She blinked like she hadn't heard me right. Please let me... I held up my phone, not on her face, just visible. I don't need the story. I'm looking at it. My dad's jaw worked like he was chewing anger. My mom looked hurt in a quiet, exhausted way. Vince stared at Brian's disappearing back like he was mentally measuring a wall he'd like to build. Lauren stepped closer, voice dropping into that private tone she uses when she thinks she can steer me. Jack, we can talk outside. I leaned back slightly, not away from her like fear, away like distance. No, Ovia, we're not doing private. You wanted secrecy. You got the opposite. Her eyes darted to the people around us. This is humiliating. I nodded once. Correct. Nicole snapped. Oh, now she cares. Lauren looked at me, trying to find the old me. It's not what you think. I almost smiled. Almost. That line should come with a warranty. She reached for my arm. I moved my arm behind my back like I was adjusting my shirt. Simple. No drama. Lauren, I said, clear enough for the table to hear. You're not coming back to my house. Her mouth opened. What? I kept it calm. Pack your things. You'll do it on a schedule. With witnesses. Patricia stepped forward, shaking. Jack, honey, let's not. I looked at Patricia, and my tone stayed respectful. Your family. You're welcome with us tonight. Patricia's face crumpled. But I turned back to Lauren. She isn't. Lauren's eyes went glassy. Jack, you can't do this. Not tonight. I tilted my head. Watch me. Howard, of all people, whispered, well, that's efficient. Lauren lowered her voice, trying for tears. I love you. I nodded like I was acknowledging she'd spoken. Then you should have acted like you live in my world, not someone else's booth. She swallowed hard. Who texted you? Who sent you the pin? There it was. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I messed up. Not, I understand. Who told on me? I leaned in just enough for her to hear without giving her privacy. You're asking the wrong question. The right question is, where are you sleeping tonight? Her face tightened, anger peeking through. You're really going to throw me out over conversation? I looked toward the hallway Brian vanished into. Then back at her. He ran. Conversations don't run. Silence again. Heavy. I turned to my group. Dinner's canceled, I said. Let's go back to the house for coffee and cake. We're not discussing it here. My dad nodded immediately, like he was grateful for something solid. Vince pointed toward the door with his chin. You good? I'm good, I said. I'm done. Lauren stepped in front of me. Jack, don't do this. Not in front of everyone. I met her eyes. You started in front of everyone when you chose this place. I'm just finishing it. Nicole walked past Lauren without touching her. Move. Lauren flinched like she'd been slapped, but nobody put hands on anyone. We didn't need to. The boundary did the work. We walked out as a unit. A quiet, controlled exit. The kind that makes people stare harder than yelling ever would. And as we reached the parking lot, Lauren called after me, voice cracking. Where am I supposed to go? I didn't turn around. Not my problem anymore. That night at the house, I didn't spiral. I didn't sit alone with sad music. I changed locks. Vince came with me because he's a builder and because I wanted another adult there who didn't get hypnotized by tears. My dad handed me tools without talking. Nicole kept my mom busy in the kitchen. Howard lingered near the driveway like a moth near a porch light. I opened the front door and found Lauren's spare key on the hook by habit. I took it down and set it on the counter like it was evidence. Vince watched me. You sure? I glanced at him. I watched a married man sprint away from my wife's booth. How sure do you want me to be? He nodded once. Fair. My phone buzzed nonstop. Lauren, then Patricia, then Lauren again. I answered none of it. Instead, I texted Lauren one message. You're not entering this house. We will handle your things tomorrow. Written communication only. She replied instantly. Please, let me explain. I made a mistake. I wrote back tomorrow. 10 a.m. Nicole will be here. You will pack essentials only. 1 hour. Then you leave. She tried calling. I let it ring. Nicole leaned against the counter and studied my face. You're not even shaking. I'm not giving her the benefit of seeing me bleed, I said. My mom came in with cake plates and stopped when she saw the new lock hardware on the counter. She set the plates down slowly. Jack, she said, voice soft, are you okay? I looked at her and kept it honest. I'm clear. That was the first night. And here's the part most people don't understand. The first boundary isn't the hard part. The hard part is holding it when the acting starts. The next morning, Lauren showed up right at 10. Her car parked like she still owned the driveway. Nicole stood by the front window and muttered, the confidence is impressive. Vince was there too, leaning on the kitchen island with his arms crossed like a bouncer who reads blueprints. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. I stepped outside and closed it behind me. Lauren looked wrecked on purpose. Puffy eyes, no muck-up, hoodie like she was a victim of weather. She held a grocery bag. I brought you your favorite, she whispered, holding it out like a peace offering. The cinnamon rolls from that bakery you like. I didn't touch the bag. We're not trading pastries for access. Her eyes flashed. I'm trying. You're performing, I corrected. You can pack essentials. You have 1 hour. Nicole's inside. Vince is inside. You don't wander. She swallowed. Jack, please. I love you. I don't want to lose us. I kept my voice level. You already lost us when you started building a second life while I was seasoning steaks. She flinched. It was just talk. I gave her a slow look. Then why was he running? She looked away, then snapped back, defensive. You don't know anything. You don't know what he promised. You don't know what I've been dealing with. There it was. Not regret. Just a pitch for sympathy and a story where she's the main character. I opened the door and stepped aside. Start packing. Inside, Nicole didn't smile. She didn't hug Lauren. She pointed down the hall like a manager directing a delivery. Lauren tried small talk like we were in a waiting room. Nicole. Nicole replied, don't. Lauren's shoulders slumped dramatically, but she moved. For 40 minutes, she packed a duffel bag and a suitcase. She tried to wander into my office. Vince cleared his throat once. Bedroom and closet only. Lauren Spoon. Who are you to tell me? Vince shrugged. A witness. You should get used to those. Lauren shot me a look like Vince's presence was an insult. I didn't flinch. This is what your nothing looks like when it grows up. When she finished, she stood by the door with her bags and tried one more angle. I can fix this, she said, voice syrupy now. I can make it right. We can go to counseling. We can. No, Utopia. We can separate logistics. That's it. Tears fell right on cue. So you're just done? Like I'm nothing. I opened the door. You're not nothing. You're just not my wife anymore. She stepped forward like she might reach for me. I stepped back like a gate closing. Written communication. I reminded her. You want to coordinate? You text. No surprises. No pop-ins. She stared at me, anger rising behind the tears. You're being cruel. I nodded. You're confusing cruelty with consequences. She left with her bags, shoulders shaking in a way designed to make a neighbor look out a window. Howard was outside watering his lawn like it was the most important job on earth. Lauren glanced at him, then at me, and her crying turned slightly quieter. Interesting. That afternoon, I made the next moves. I didn't do petty. I did structural. I called the bank and separated what I could separate. I changed passwords. I moved my direct deposit. I made a list of shared bills and created a temporary plan where nothing accidentally got missed. Then I went somewhere that mattered, Vince's job site. He was overseeing a remodel for a client, and his crew was on lunch. The place smelled like sawdust and coffee. Vince looked at me. You sure you want to handle paperwork here? I held up a folder. I want witnesses in daylight. That's the theme. Tessa was there too, sitting in her car, eating a sandwich. She raised her eyebrows when she saw the folder. Planning, I said. She nodded. Smart. On that job site, I wrote out a simple schedule for Lauren. 2 more pickups, 2 hours each, with Nicole and Vince present. No arguments. No wounding. No talking it out. I texted it to Lauren. Her reply came fast. This is insane. You can't do this to me. I typed. I can. I am. Tuesday at 4. Saturday at 11. Confirm. She sent. I want to meet and talk. I wrote no. Confirm the times. A minute later, fine. Tuesday 4. There. When you take away the stage, the script changes. 2 days later, she showed up Tuesday at 4 with a new costume. Confident, organized, almost cheerful. Like she decided tears didn't work, so now we try competence. She walked up the driveway, holding a neat binder. I made a plan, she said, smiling like she was presenting at work. Steps. Communication. Weekly check-ins. A budget. We can rebuild. I didn't take the binder. You're late. I'm 2 minutes early. Emotionally, I said. You're late. Her smile cracked. Jack, don't be like that. Like what? I asked. Like a man who won't be managed? Nicole stood nearby with her arms crossed. Vince leaned against his truck. Tessa watched from her car again, because Tessa is the kind of woman who doesn't miss the truth when it's loud. Lauren opened the binder anyway, flipping pages like the paper would hypnotize me. Look, she said, tapping a section. Rules. Boundaries. Transparency. You stiff the hair. You flipped your phone over in my kitchen and called it nothing. Now you're selling me transparency in a 3-ring binder. She flushed. I panicked. I made a mistake. I'm trying to fix it. You're trying to keep your comfort, I replied. You're trying to keep the house, the circle, the status, and still do whatever you want when you feel like it. Her eyes narrowed. That's not fair. I shrugged. Fair isn't part of it anymore. She took a step closer, voice low, intimate again. You're going to throw away years over one day. I answered without hesitation. I'm not throwing it away. I'm refusing to carry it. Her face hardened. So what? You think you're some hero now? I almost laughed. No, I think I'm a homeowner who enjoys peace. She snapped the binder shut and held it to her chest like a shield. You're acting like I did this to hurt you. I looked her dead in the eye. You did it to control me. That's worse. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because she knew. She knew what she'd been doing all day. Keeping me waiting, vague texting, don't start without me. Trying to steer me with a lighter request like I'd forget the bigger issue. Nicole spoke up, sharp and simple. Pack. Don't perform. Lauren whipped her head toward Nicole. Stay out of it. Nicole smiled thinly. You made it public at Hawthorne Grill. Remember? Lauren's jaw clenched. She grabbed clothes, shoes, a couple personal items. She tried to take a framed photo from the hallway. I stepped in front of it. No, it's mine, she insisted. It's ours, I corrected. And ours is paused until we decide what goes where. Not today. Her eyes glistened again, switching gears. Jack, please, just give me one dinner. One conversation. I shook my head once. You had dinner. You chose the booth. She froze, like that sentence hit the exact nerve. She dropped her gaze. Who sent you that pin? There it was again. That obsession with plugging the leak. I replied, not your business. It matters, she hissed. It matters to your control, I said. It doesn't matter to my decision. She left with another load. No hug. No dramatic gudvie. Just a woman walking off a set after the director said cut. Saturday was the last pickup. By then she'd stopped trying to be sweet and started trying to be sharp. She showed up and said, so you're just going to erase me? I answered, I'm going to remove your access. That's different. She scoffed. You're enjoying this. I looked at her like she'd accused me of enjoying a dentist appointment. I'm enjoying clarity. She tried one last jab, loud enough for Howard to hear across the driveway. You always think you're right. Howard's head popped up like a prairie dog. I smiled slightly. No, I think I'm finished. Lauren's eyes went wide, like the word finished scared her more than anger ever did. She grabbed her last boxes. Nicole checked them off a list. Vince loaded them into Lauren's trunk without speaking to her. Lauren stood by her car, breathing hard, trying to find a lever. So that's it. After everything. You're just done. I walked her to the edge of the driveway. Not as a gentleman, not as a husband, just as a man making sure the line was visible. I pointed to the street. That's the boundary. She swallowed. You're going to regret this. I leaned in just enough so she could hear me, and so she'd remember the sentence as a final nail. No, I'm going to recover from it. You're going to miss the version of me that used to negotiate with disrespect. Her face twisted, like she wanted to slap the words out of the air. She got in her car and drove away. Howard shuffled closer, watering kin forgotten. Jack, you okay? I looked at him. Howard, if you repeat one word of this on the street, I'll stop saying hi. Howard raised both hands. Understood, loud and clear. Nicole exhaled long and slow. Happy birthday, she said, and it sounded like both a joke and a prayer. A year later, my life is quieter. Better quiet. I moved into a smaller house across town. Still Denver, still neighborhoods, but with less nosy energy. I bought a different truck. Same purpose, less history. Work is solid. My friends are still around. Vince still invites me to barbecues. Tessa still calls out nonsense when she sees it. And yeah, I'm seeing someone new. A woman who doesn't treat honesty like a punishment. She doesn't flip her phone like it's a weapon. She asks questions like an adult and answers them the same way. As for Lauren, I hear things the way you hear weather. Secondhand, not personal. She's had to downgrade her comfort. She's had to explain herself to people she thought she could manage forever. She's had to live without the stability she treated like a guaranteed paycheck. And the part that still makes me shake my head? She lost control the moment I stopped chasing her story and started enforcing my standards. Here's what I take from this. If you're listening like a man who wants peace more than he wants to win an argument. First, the early signs matter more than the big reveal. The phone flip. The rushed it's nothing. The vague meets someone. Those aren't random. They're test balloons. If you ignore them, you're training someone to keep you in the dark. You don't need to explode. You need to notice, and you need to respond with structure. Second, facts beat drama every time. The mistake would have been racing to that restaurant alone, trying to force a confession in a corner. That turns you into the story. Instead, I put the truth in daylight with witnesses. I didn't beg for honesty. I made dishonesty expensive. Third, once respect breaks publicly, don't bargain to get it back privately. The mistake would have been accepting tears, snacks, binders, and plans as proof of change. Those were tactics to regain access, not proof of a new character. Boundaries only work if they stay in place when the acting starts. Comfort is nice. History is heavy. But neither of those is worth living with someone who thinks they can manage you with vagueness and control. Calm decisions, clear rules, and a willingness to walk away. That's what keeps you from becoming a man who gets handled. And if you're wondering what the real gift was on my birthday, not the dinner, not the cake. It was the moment I realized I didn't need her permission to end a game she started. That's the end of the story. And since you're here, you must have enjoyed it. Why not subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos? Thanks and have a nice day.